First things first. First things first. Are we even live?
Yeah, no, I was broken. It wasn't live. You're right. Thank you. Now we're live.
Nice one.
Well done, Neil.
That's our first hotspot debugged. Nice job, Neil.
Hey, we're done. All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Okay, so now we're live. Sorry about that. My bad. We should probably start over. Cool. Let's see. So we got these hotspots. You can submit them on the site. I'll drop a link somewhere, probably in the description at the end of this. It's on the Gristle King site, how you can submit this. And the idea is that we get a couple experts on and they walk you through how they debug it so that hopefully you guys can do it yourself. And then if you do need help, you can go get these guys to help you in the future. All right. So, and I think, Neil, you're more into this. The heliumstatus.io is how people can mostly help themselves. Yep. And then Jamie, you wanted to do this because you wanted to kind of show off what we can do with the ETL, the data stuff, and looking at witnesses and beacons and magical crap like that.
And then Nick, you are a resident Helium Vision and hotspotty expert, so don't sell yourself short.
That's right. Yeah. I got my new Helium Vision course. That thing is awesome. Okay. So Shiny Brown Dragon is the first one. I'll read out the details. It's outdoors, connected via Ethernet. It is connected to an AT&T Nighthawk MR5100 mobile hotspot. So not a helium hotspot, but just the mobile hotspot with an Ethernet cable in an enclosed box on top of a building. So it sounds like it's kind of off grid. And the problem is that it is relayed. Neil, you're the de-relaying expert. Walk me through how you're going to do it.
So the first thing to check if it's on a mobile connection. I mean, it sort of sounds like it might be on a 4G connection. So I just double check that. If it is like I think it is, then there might be a thing called CGNAT, and CGNAT is where they don't publicly send you over the internet. It's you're routed through their servers. You're internal, and then everything else is external. So I double check that first. But the second thing, if it is just a normal router, if it sounds like it might be double natted, so there's two routers in the loop. So if it is, then that might cause problems as well, because you'd have to forward from the first router to the second router. So there's so many different.
Yeah, let's Neil, while Jamie's pulling that up, let's talk through this NAT stuff, because I think we kind of go through it because at least I kind of know what I'm doing. You definitely do. But walk through like what the NAT is, what the CGNAT is, and why that might be a problem for someone.
Yeah, so on your local network, you'll get a local IP address. Anything in your house, for example, like your phone and everything, would get a local IP address. But your router in the house would get its own IP address as well. It's a public IP address. And that means that if anyone wants to dial you, they can dial to your house, but they wouldn't necessarily know what device to dial to. So you need to create a port forward to the Helium miner, so hotspots can talk to it and challenge it and beacon it. And that's the setup. But sometimes people will do things like double routers, so they'll have one from their ISP, and then they'll have another one that's their like main one in the house, or they'll use a mesh system where they'll have a number of hotspots, number of Wi-Fi hotspots around the house, and those will add another step to this process. So they're not like directly connected to the internet. But what a lot of other companies will do, 4G specifically, is they'll do a system called CGNAT, where you're on just an extension of their local network. So when you dial out to the internet, you're not directly dialing out. You're asking their servers to then dial out to the internet. So you haven't got a direct connection in or out. So and that IP address can change all the time as well. So I've seen it on some 4G providers where it will change every couple of days. So it can cause havoc to your routing. So you just have to check the path you have to fix relay. And your guy's the best one so far, isn't it? Gristle King's got the new workflow.
Yeah. Well,
Jason wrote.
It's from Jason. It's certainly not mine. All I did was I found this dude in Venezuela who's like a math guy. And I'm like, hey, can you just make this into magical code so people just answer yes, no questions? And he did. And I found another guy to make it look pretty. And I think one more lady to make it look pretty. And now it's up on the site. So.
Yeah, and Jason's gone through every step, and it's a yes or no question, and it gives you clear examples of how to step through it every step of the way and get rid of the relay problem. Sometimes you can't fix it, and there are solutions around it still. A VPN connection is one way. The other way is sometimes you need to talk to your internet provider, and they can provide you a static public IP address. so that can fix your problems as well.
So the CGNet is basically like the box within a box thing. Is you need to be in your own box and have a direct connection through the wall of your box to the outside world. Jamie, what are you clicking through here? You're all excited.
Yeah. Well, I'm just poking around at Dragon and neighbors here in sunny Louisiana. We're located right next to the Lafayette Regional Airport, which I have not yet had the pleasure of flying into, but I look, I'll put it on the list. And this hotspot is actually doing great. I don't know how, like, if maybe my standards are very low, but this hotspot is doing over an H&T on a good day. And the trend line here is the opposite of everybody else's trend line.
Yeah, what happened on November 29th? Because I want to do what you're doing.
Yeah, maybe that's when it got moved to the roof would be my guess. But let's yeah, this is actually a pretty new hotspot. It looks like it's only new, like it was only onboarded in November 13th, basically, because there's no more data going back any farther than this. But, this is a great 65, 86 beacons witnessed in a given day. Like, this is doing very, very well, even despite the relay. So I have known, I mean, this is the top performing hotspot in the area, with the exception of Watermelon Narwhal here that I pulled up. And
nice.
that one,
So you're able to see on the ETL, just so folks know, this is the 𝗬𝗰𝗀𝗀𝗀.
yeah, this is the 𝗬𝗰𝗀𝗀𝗀. Yeah, and it's free. It is a data visualization tool built on top of the Helium blockchain data, and you can log in with, you can go to etl.dy.org and log in with a Google account, create an account with a Google account, and see all these dashboards. And I'm just playing around with the hotspot details dashboard that we put together. There's a bunch of other ones, but this one I've always found really useful, just for checking on the old hotspots.
And how did you find that dashboard? Just so
yeah, sure. It's if you go to the main page of the DY ETL, it's this hotspot details one right here. That you can see my mousing around.
Yeah,
great.
That thing lassoing.
I'm just furiously mousing. I lost my dashboard. Yeah, there's a couple things. It's actually funny going through this on a live stream, because I realize there's things I need to fix here. This H&T earned graph is since July 1st, I think.
Okay.
So I need to fix that, so it's just like the last 30 days or whatever, because looking at old data is so irrelevant. It always ends up including like with this one that says that Narwhal's made 220 H&T since July 1st. Let's do, I don't know, 365 days. Like, yeah, you can see those early on. A lot of that's from December, and then a lot of this is from this crazy period here. A solid 6-7 H&T day. In July. What month is it?
Good old days, right?
Yeah, I need like some milestone markers. When did we launch validators? Like in September? No.
Validators weren't until spring of 2021, right?
Oh yeah, this is,
or late spring, early summer 2021.
I think it was in the summer, right? I don't know. We'll have to look it up. I love this day too, where they're like 715 packets came through Narwhal. But overall, I mean, I'd say this hotspot's doing great. I give this hotspot an A for effort.
June 23rd, validators were.
Thank you.
June 23rd, validators launched.
Yeah, I think between the three of us, we should be able to actually do a good job of this.
We're gonna crush. Yeah. Okay, so I think Dragon, we're good. You're solved. You're making more than everyone else. Stop it.
Hey, I've got to be honest. I'll share my screen if I can.
Please, let me hang up.
So,
what's your diagnosis, doctor?
Yeah.
My iOS is saying that I need to restart the share screen. I don't know if I can do this.
You can come back on. We'll be here.
Yeah.
July 7th, 2021. I'm seeing in the chat.
This is a great little spot, and then everything in the area is like a 0.66 reward scale too. So it's like not yet oversaturated. It's probably on the road to oversaturation. You can't see now, but it was back in what month? Just 3 weeks ago. Its reward scale was 1. So they're about to enter the reward scale doom spiral, which is a technical term, obviously.
Very technical.
But
Yeah,
I don't
so-
know if I need to actually run the numbers on this, but I have noticed like anecdotally whenever I poke around at different regions that it's like it goes from 1 to 0.6 really fast and then like pretty quickly ends up down at like 0.1, in which case you're roughly making 10% of what you were making 3 weeks earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, I always tell people if you're looking in the region because I'm using Helium Vision and you draw a square around that region, if you're seeing that the average reward scale is below 0.7, you're probably a little bit late to that area. Or you're gonna have to do an exceptional job, do a good job. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see, Neil, did you want to show us the shiny brown dragon on Helium status?
Yeah, I'll show you. Sorry, 1 second.
Yeah, take your time.
Vamp for time. Nick, are you watching the chat on YouTube?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay.
I'm seeing they're talking about dates. What was the website again? So the two websites is it Jamie is dy.etl or etl.dy?
It's etl.dy.org, which is spelled etl.dewi.org.
Yep.
And then there is a
Neil's
channel. Yeah, and then if you're in the Helium Discord, there's a channel called Data Analysis that's deep into the channel list that is filled with my fellow ETL experts who can do a much better job of.
Cool. I'll drop all that in the chat.
Yeah, so just to show you right now, relaying's not nice on the network. I mean, you can see here that the observed address is different from the API listen address on my tool. So what that means is that most of the network knows how to gossip you this way and often fails to resolve you this way. But what's worse is that the current link is actually down. So this tool allows you to just test these links, and it's never made sense for me, but apparently you can ping a hotspot still through a relay link. I always wondered how that worked, and but it does normally if the relay link is working, but right now it's not. So you would have a period of downtime because it's not pingable. So the only way to really solve that and to pick up a new relay link is to reboot the hotspot.
Yep.
But overall, get rid of relay. It will just really will affect your earnings.
That's interesting. And then would you suggest this person, besides like call the ISP, try to see if they can get like a static forwarding, like the VPN idea? I actually haven't heard anybody suggest before. Would that be like the second thing you would try?
Yeah, I would ideally not like to use VPN because it just adds another layer of complexity to it. So if you can solve it the traditional way, it's going to be better. But a lot of users are starting to have success with VPNs and just, getting a cheap DigitalOcean $5 droplet, running OpenVPN and running everything through that. It just means your IP doesn't change and the gossip's not causing problems. Yeah,
and then use like a self-hosted VPN rather than a public VPN for the port forwarding.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, Dragon. And then folks who have their hotspots up on the roof, I sometimes recommend those smart plugs that let you remotely power cycle it, especially if you can't avoid the relaying, just to give it a kick.
Weird ones.
There we go.
They're fantastic. Yeah.
I have one too, but it fell offline, so now it's just worthless. It's just a brick.
We had a question from YouTube. Have you heard anything about a fix for API listening not updating for many users for the past week? Doesn't seem like it's being addressed by anyone. I'll address the last part of that at the end. Helium is busting their ass to fix all this stuff. I would never throw out that thing like, hey, it doesn't look like anyone's paying attention. Small team working super hard on super complex problems. I wouldn't worry about them not working too hard. Okay, now whoever wants to take that one, take it.
I would answer that one. I will once again flag the DYETL since it runs the same software that powers the Helium API, so it essentially has the same data set. It's all coming out of the blockchain. So if you go browse this hotspot details dashboard, it should actually tell you relatively up-to-date information. And then there's this network overview dashboard that I'm not showing right now. Let me bring that one up. That shows you how recent the data inside of the DYETL is. In which case it's 4:14, so it's about 4 minutes out of date, which is more than it's usually out of date, but it's not too bad.
Huh, interesting. Yeah, live and learn.
So I rarely, whenever I'm checking on a hotspot, I actually just use the 𝑑𝐸TL first, since the Helium API, it's a safe bet that it's more lagged for whatever reason.
Yeah, between this and status, you should be able to fix everything. At heliumstatus.io. So let's see the next one. Roundstone Vulture. Vital info. It says it's indoors and outdoors. I'm not sure what that means, and it's roof mounted. I don't know that I did a good job of explaining how to use this form. Ethernet on grid, so on the roof of a restaurant with an enclosure, PoE for power over Ethernet, 5.8 dBi antenna, Nebra indoor. This is the one you warned me about, Neil. With the top removed to allow ventilation. As the temp was getting a little high, I removed it and started earning HMT. Problem description is no witnesses. Just placed this hotspot about 5 days ago, and the run diagnostic on Hotspotty is giving me this message when I run a diagnostic. Blockchain 0 of 1 ping succeeded. Hotspot is online. The blockchain info is currently outdated. What are you guys seeing for Roundstone Vulture?
Vulture's online as of a couple days ago. Yeah, Vulture is earning.
It's doing okay. So, but 30 days, 1.4. What's it doing in the last 24 hours?
Looks like it was half an HMT. You made, I don't know, what's the price right now? $30. You made $15 yesterday. Congratulations, Vulture.
Look at these complainers. I thought we'd be getting people who haven't earned any HMT
honestly,
for months.
Honestly, you guys want to talk about my, yeah, look at this up and to the right.
Yeah. Get out of here.
Trend line. Get out of here.
It's here in 76 hotspots, so
yeah,
it's definitely working.
50 beacons a day.
They're seeing on Hotspotty that there's no witnesses. Hotspotty is awesome, but it's obviously not reporting the same information that this is reporting. What are you guys taking out of that?
I think that's, I mean, there's always going to be kind of discrepancies between tools depending on what you're using. Like if I don't know if Hotspotty, I think they're running their own ETL as well, so it might just be a little out of date. Yep. There was a big ETL bug yesterday too, so it's entirely possible their data is just a little bit out of date. And then
Explorer saying the same thing as well. It's witnessing fine, but it has no witnesses.
Oh, I see this witness list is empty. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I thought we got rid of this actually. No?
So the hotspots, it's not beaconing and it's not having any witnesses.
I did notice that it has not, it has no beacons transmitted at all, even though it's picking up, it's been like 3 days of activity, 4 days of activity, which is unusual. And it's not relays, so I don't think that's the problem, but.
Yeah, what do you think, Neil? No beacons transmitted. That doesn't sound right.
It's weird.
I would put it down to probably it's peering. I know that sounds really bad and really vague, but looking at how many peers it's connected to over the internet to gossip with and talk to all of these servers, it's connected to quite a few seeds at the same time. And I know some of the seeds have been having issues, so just try a reboot, and that should mean that it comes through. It's hard to say exactly. Everything looks perfect on it from what I'm seeing, apart from no beacons.
Yeah, the no beacons is strange. I mean, I've observed them in the past. Generally, they'll show up as failed beacons rather than nothing at all. And but I know that the consensus group will sometimes drop beacons for different reasons, like due to maybe this is actually multiple hotspots on the same IP address.
Let me make sure I understand that. Yes. So you're thinking that maybe this person is stacking a couple hotspots and only one of them is beaconing?
Let's check it out. Yeah. Yes, because that was like a well-known issue, essentially.
So there's a bloom filter in the code that basically says if you've got more than one hotspot on the same IP address, choose one as a target. So if you've got two on the same internet connection, they'll beacon half as much as two would separately.
Okay. Which makes sense, but it doesn't choose one of them or the other. It just says they get split out between the two.
Yeah, it's random. I mean, one could take all of it, but which targets it does, I'm not too clear on. But from my understanding, it's random.
Okay. Dig it.
I'm just checking really fast, trying to. Yeah. My live SQL skills are really bad.
We're going to get so much better by September of next year. You're going to be super fast.
No, it's just one. I only see one on this IP, so I don't think that's it.
Okay.
Let's double
Ooh, I
check
saw
those.
someone wants to look at shambolic ruby cricket, but you should totally fill out that form or tell us more about the cricket. We'll go to let's see. So that was Roundstone Vulture. This one is this isn't really a troubleshooting one, but we might as well hit it. It's a Droll Navy Perch. So DROLL Navy Perch. Living in the 5th floor downtown. The area is flat. I've got a Fenestra miner, and I'm waiting for an 8 dBi to be shipped, but I'm not super confident about mounting an outdoor antenna since they don't recommend it for Fenestra devices, as mentioned on their website. Any idea about this, and are there any irreversible damage that could happen to my miner? I don't think so. I mean, I haven't seen this thing about not attaching an external antenna to a Fenestra. Neil, have you?
Yes, I've seen it. It's to do with regulation, so they can't recommend that anyone puts another antenna on it. It has RPSMA fittings, I think, from memory. It's just they legally can't say to use any other antenna because their certification is for that antenna only. It rings true for most hotspot owners, but most hotspot brands that they are only certified for the antenna that they come with. So,
okay, so the official line is you can't do it, but the kind of
there's no reason you can't. No.
I guess the hammering home there is you put a high gain antenna on there, it's not going to fry your miner. And I wanted to bring this up because I got a DM about this. I don't know where I got it from, Reddit, wherever it was, and the person was saying something like, I've been told that on the receiving end, my miner draws in power, and a higher receiving antenna will draw in more power. And that's just not how radio works. It's just a higher gain antenna will increase the sensitivity of your kind of listening ability with a hotspot. But it's not like it can be overpowered. Technically it could, but it's not going to be a problem for your miner. So, still not a great reason to put a high gain antenna on, but it shouldn't break it.
Yeah, it's really careful that we tell people as well about, 8 dBi antennas are not good for data. You could be very close to an 8 dBi antenna and not use the network. So when we move to a more data focused network, that the DCE is where most of the earnings are, these 8 dBi antennas are not going to do well as a load of local 3 dBi antennas serving that traffic fast. So you may hear a lot of data from far away, but you'll never deliver it quick enough as someone that's closer.
I didn't realize that there's a dimension of speed of delivery or maybe throughput on the higher gain antenna.
Yeah, exactly. So in the future, I think a lot of these high gain antennas will come down. But once people realize you don't need that big of an antenna unless you're trying to do hundreds of miles, then when the data changes the system, we're all going to come down to lower antennas, hopefully.
Yeah. I see Robert Putt over in the YouTube's like, hey, everyone should get their ham radio license. Like, I got mine. I don't know any of this stuff. It was the most useless class I ever took. But I'm not saying don't get it. I'm just saying don't rely on the class to teach you much. It's a lot of reading that gets you there.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think that's the answer for that antenna one. The next one I got is Mysterious Coconut Jaguar. Let's see, hotspot info. So it's outdoors, roof mount. It says it's Wi-Fi and Ethernet and on grid. I'm going to have to make this form a little bit better because it's allowing people to put in way more information than they should. It says the Jaguar is mounted on a J-mount on top of my roof. It's a Nebra outdoor miner. House is on top of a hill in a valley. Problem description: it was working well for about 2 weeks. Was mining about 0.4 HNT per day. Then suddenly stopped working and now barely mining anything at all. Sent beacons have 0 witnesses. Only challenges seem to work. Okay, we got some clues there.
Oh, yeah, interesting. The Jaguar is in, let's see, I forget where we were located. What city is this? All right.
Yeah.
And then,
Canada.
Yeah, it's kind of
always the Canadians.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of like a low earnings area in general, just based on some of these numbers, because this is from July 1st. So this is people just making a handful of H&T. Chile Admiral Perch here is the winner. It is, I mean, they're doing a ton of witnessing each day, like 30 beacons witnessed, but this is kind of interesting that suddenly all the beacons are failing the last week, and I'd be willing to bet that that's a relay issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably what I mean, as always, it's like that's the first safest assumption. It's doing a ton of data transfer, which is cool. Like we're seeing 1,400 packets in a day is great.
That seems
And
like a
then
lot.
yeah, and then so the neighbor that's doing well is doing similar levels of beacon witnessing, like 30-ish a day. I think that's around what it was seeing the last week. But I don't know why it's failing all of its beacons. I can actually pull up a report for that. Challenge receipts.
Oh, and I think Neil, this guy's saying Mysterious Coconut Jaguar is having the API listen address stuck as well.
So this the Mysterious Coconut Jaguar in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. That's the one we're talking about. I mean, when I'm looking at Explorer, it looks like it's done nothing for a few days. I mean, the odd challenger is getting through, but there was a period of time where it was creating challenges, but it wasn't actually challenging the beacon. That signal never went out.
Yeah, it's actually it's really strange to me that I see plenty of beaconing activity, but to your point, like no earnings at all, which is really weird.
So let me think that through. Maybe it's getting beaten out and it's just randomly getting hosed in the kind of race to the, is it 10 or 18 witnesses, whatever the number is right now?
There was a period of time where it's I don't know the technical reason for it, but bear with me. But basically, when a hotspot comes back online, it will try and send out a challenger, and it will keep doing it until one's successful, and then it'll beacon. So if you get a period of time where it's sending out challengers and they're not going through, that's all you will see. You might see some witnesses in that time, but you won't see a beacon until one successfully goes through. It looks kind of stuck to me.
How would you fix it?
Yeah, very weird.
Power cycle, right? Is there anything else?
I just think it's so strange that it's so November 25th is the day. Oh, you know what? Oh, I see. This is from December 5th. These two graphs don't line up quite right. That makes more sense. This is the period where it was super busy and doing really well. And then it's just had absolutely nothing since December 6th, pretty much. And it's earning, minimum wage.
Do you think the antenna connection might have gone bad? It shouldn't, because it's still witnessing beacons, right?
No, it's not. There's been zero beacons witnessed since December 5th.
Oh, so just 10 days ago. Dog.
Yeah, maybe it shorted out. It might be. I had a hotspot that it definitely wasn't the fact that it was outdoors with no lightning arrestor. That absolutely could not have been the reason. But yeah, and it just fried the SD card, fried the antenna, fried the concentrator card. Like it was basically just scrap parts. But
okay, and that happened because of static electricity buildup, not because of a direct lightning strike. I know it sounds stupid.
I really wish they would call it. Yeah, I wish they would call them like static arresters or just like electricity arresters, because everybody's like, oh, there's never any storms here. Why do I need a lightning arrestor? And it's like static discharge in the air, especially like the higher up you are, or like the more moisture is in the air. So I wouldn't be surprised if this one had some physical damage for sure. It's also relayed, so it may just need a kick.
My guess is 𝗨s. One thing I'll say is I run it through the stats tool and it was connected to 15 hotspots. That's stale information, and then when it connects and you refresh the page, you can see it jump. So that jumped from 15 𝗨s to 7. So it looks like stale dialing information to me. So I definitely try a reboot just to make it re-announce itself to the network and get those connections back in. Just talking about that no listen address, I know it's been brought up a few times in the chat. I just wanted to talk about that quickly.
Yeah.
Like Helium are so on top of that issue, you don't understand. Like all they've done, every update they've done for this past month has been gossip related. There was a huge bug that if one of the addresses wasn't formatted right, it would drop all the addresses and leave you with a no listen address. So because one was formatted wrong, everything was lost, and that bug meant that some hotspots kind of were stuck with no dialable information. So if you ever get stuck with a no listen address, just reboot the hotspot, let it re-establish the peers again, and it should help clear the issue up.
Hans is saying the bottom dude is right. You must be on the bottom on this one, Neil. That's awesome. All right. I've seen a couple things here I want to hit as well. So Dustin, lightning arresters do not get put at the base of the antenna. They can, but it's not it's not advised. If you talk to the ham radio geeks, they'll say protect your equipment and put the lightning arrestor or the surge protector, whatever you want to call it, down closer to your equipment. So even if that charge travels down the wire, it doesn't fry your equipment, and it doesn't have a chance for that charge to build up around the wire and go into your equipment. So yeah, does that make sense? Everybody kind of cool with that?
Yep.
And then I think we can go. God, I don't want to go from the top. I'm just going to go backwards. 𝗵𝗁𝗶𝘀𝗁, can you check my miner? All right, Boris, let's take a look
Let's
at
do it, Boris.
𝗵𝗁𝗶𝘀𝗁.
Yeah.
I mean, if you could give me some details, dog, something. Is it just not earning 4 HNT a day? What's going on?
Yeah, right. Let's bring up the 𝗵𝗁𝗶𝘀 and in Little Egg Harbor Township in New Jersey.
All right.
Picking up one incredibly long distance beacon here.
Okay. Boris is saying it's in his attic. What else? Tell me what else, Boris. Like, is there an antenna on this? Is there a cable on it? How's it connected to the internet? Is it Ethernet? Is it Wi-Fi? It's been flat for a few days. I wouldn't call that flat. That's just down, right? Or is that pretty bad compared to what it was? It's just 24 hours.
It's pretty consistent. Yeah, it looks like it had a good week here in the middle of November, and then Boris, he had a couple of rough days here at the end of November, but we're back in action. 0.1, I mean, it's kind of low, but you're also posting pretty low beacon witnesses numbers here. Like, I remember if you were watching the stream earlier, like we were pulling up hotspots that were seeing 30 beacons a day, and you're doing 3, 1. You're passing all of your beacons that you're sending out, which is good, but you're just not picking up a lot of neighbors. And here you are, big 𝗵𝗁𝗶𝘀. So the nearest hotspots are like just under maybe like a kilometer away each. It's like 4 within a kilometer here. So I would, no relaying, none of that stuff. Like I just throw it up on the roof, maybe upgrade. If you've got it in the attic, maybe upgrade the antenna, maybe do one of those like indoor antenna mounts. You guys know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. He says it's a 5.8, but it's on Wi-Fi. Would the stock antenna be better? What kind of hotspot is it? Is it Bobcat?
Rack wireless.
It's a rack.
I wonder if this period was the stock antenna.
Or did you switch it out, Boris, and then it started going down? You gotta give us some clues, dog.
Yeah. Give us the narrative. Give us your hotspot change log.
Okay, I think get it off Wi-Fi is one thing. Like that's never helpful. So if you can run an Ethernet cable up to that sucker, and he's saying it's a Bobcat. Oh, that's interesting.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, in this case, it's just not seeing a lot of activity, but the neighbors are doing well. These neighbors are offline actually. It's just a little bit of like a funkily sparse area for New Jersey. Generally, New Jersey is pretty dense, but as you can see from this nearby hotspots list, like 2 within a kilometer are offline. This third one is offline too. So there's just not that many hotspots online in the area that are within listening distance. So you need to kind of like go big on the roof to start picking up.
Go big on the roof and keep connected to Ethernet. Do not do that on Wi-Fi because it'll just make the connection that less.
But the reward scale's solid. Like everything about the area looks solid. I don't know what this is like topographically, but
everyone locally to him is offline. So
everybody's offline. I know. Yeah. You just got 𝗵𝗁𝗶𝘀 here, and 𝗵𝗁𝗶𝘀 is doing all right.
This will just be network related. I mean, there was a bug just patched with racks where they because the regions were named wrong, they weren't booting up properly. So
oh wow!
And there was also a syncing issue, so it could just be that if there were racks in the area and things.
Yeah, and then really like the only other healthy neighbor you got here is 𝗵𝗁𝗶𝘀, and they're posting the same numbers, so it's probably a similar setup. But you know they're seeing 4 beacons a day, 1 beacon a day. They're failing a lot of their challenges. I have a feeling this one's probably not set up very well. It's probably just like sitting by the window, maybe with the bug screen on. But
I think he said it was just in an attic. So get that thing outside, let it breathe a little bit.
Yeah.
Hey, I love attics. Attics can work really well. I like them.
Do you have like a specific setup that you use, Neil, for an attic?
Yeah, it's about focusing on a really good antenna. But the other benefits is shorter cable, easier access. You don't have to go up a ladder every time you want to change something. Here in the UK especially, it's just tile and wood, so there's hardly anything to break it on, and you're clearing most obstacles in people's houses, so that height can make a massive difference. So if you can go outside, I always say go outside, but if you can't, attics are just as good.
Let's hit that because I'm getting questions about this with 𝗵𝐶V11, and so I think you should enter in your cable loss for your antenna. So we'll do super easy math here. If you've got a 5.8 dBi antenna and you calculate your cable loss using any of the tools on Google, and you have, let's say, a 2 dB loss, you're going to subtract 2 from 5.8 and you'll enter in 3.8 into the app. That part's pretty straightforward. The part that is confusing, and really we're just going to have to test it, is if you're in an attic, you know that all of your signals are being attenuated or dampened or weakened, however you want to say it, because they're going through the attic. So should you add an additional, let's say, 1 dB of loss to your calculations and take that from 3.8 down to 2.8? I think you should certainly test that, and you should probably do it. But that's going to be a testing thing. Test. Not good.
Yeah. It's gonna be one of those things that you just have to do real world tests for. Every time I've done something in the Helium project, whether it's checking out LMR 240 or 400, I've done real world tests to go out and see. One of the things with 𝗵𝐵11 being in Europe is that now I can run a 6 that went invalid before. Is it better for me to run a 6 at lower power or a 3 at full power? Because the radiation pattern's different. So I'm not going to know that unless I go out and test, but it's a tricky subject for sure. It's just there's not enough data on it at the moment, I think.
That's interesting.
Good.
Oh, go ahead,
Nick.
Jimmy. You go. Okay,
I'll go. Neil, I just don't know this off the top of my head. Does a 6 dBi put you over the legal limit in EU?
It would, yes.
It will. So how much room do you have? Just 3?
It's just a bit north of 3, I think. So, but we run SF12, which is so much better at spreading over distance. So, there's things for the future I'm hopeful for. There's a particular subband of LoRa that you can run at 25 watts in the UK. And so if we can somehow get sub-bands where that could be allowed for the UK, I think that would be great.
That's a lot of watts.
Fascinating.
See how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah. Neil, have you noticed like a big difference with the rollout of 11 with the spreading factor increase? No, sad.
No, none. I've always run 3 dBis because anything bigger from a good manufacturer will send everything invalid. So I've always stuck at the lower limit. But if you place them well, you realize dBi does not mean distance. It's just about spread and penetration through objects. So I could run lower. I mean, I was talking to Keenan earlier today. We both still run some of the original hotspots with the original antennas.
It's a great antenna. It's also like it's small too, which is really nice.
1.2 dBi. So it's just about placement.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's not magic. All right, Mark Strong. I really need your help. All right, Mark, I'm going to trust you. You need our help more than anyone else. That's why you put really.
Let's do it. We got you, Mark.
Ripe Amber Mongoose and other hotspots in that account are Bobcat miners that stopped mining after 𝗵𝐶V11. 100% no gaming. Issue raised with Helium 𝗨. I'm pretty sure that's thanks. All right, Mark, let's take a look.
Let's do it. Yeah.
Let's take it to this. What was it?
What was the name again? Ripe Amber Mongoose in Ukraine.
Amber Mongoose.
Dobry den. And then you mentioned in the account too that everything in the account is also off. So this is actually we get to use the
oh, cool.
The old account analytics dashboard as well. So yeah, the Mongoose is struggling. December 13th. Yeah, the Mongoose has not seen anything in 48 hours, which is not that long in the grand timescale of Helium time.
Yep.
The neighbors are doing all right.
It looks like he's transferring packets as well, so
yeah,
maybe they test it. But I've noticed that
when did we activate 11?
It was a valid witness. Sorry,
11 activated yesterday, or was it the day before? Let me check the.
That was a couple days ago. No?
Maybe a couple days ago. Okay.
Monday, wasn't it? Monday.
What day? Monday.
Look, Keenan's on. Keen Eye.
The 11th spring. Let's bring them in there. So if that was on the 11th, so it's hard to kind of like write that up as the answer. 3. I mean, I assume, who's our customer's name here? Mongoose?
Mark.
Mark, thank you. Yeah, I assume he's already attempted to like, power cycle it. Let's look at the rest of the, here's the.
Hans is saying, so this is an important part with high DBI antennas. The concerns with beam width is overstated with high gain. Totally agree. Is that, and I'm guilty of kind of.
Oh my God! Look
off.
at this.
Yeah.
Look at this. Death collapse. 21 hotspots, and then everything on the same day on the 14th just dropped off, and it's
cooked.
And so that's 21 hotspots too. That is super sus. Yeah, the rewards are offline. Like this December 13th was the last reward period. Yeah, it's not getting anything out since the 13th for any of these 21 hotspots.
Can you see they're all in the same place?
My guess is something with it being in Ukraine and there being a region issue.
I was gonna say, I see a lot of common subnet. I don't know if that might make a difference. 91225.198. They're all 196, 196, 103. Everybody's on 91225. Let's make this bigger. And so what I'm looking at, Mongoose owner Mark,
Yep.
Mark in Ukraine,
Asking for a friend.
asking for a friend is. I know there was some issue. I forget how it was done. I remember there was a change, and Neil, maybe you remember some details of this. That like the IP filtering, the Bloom filter was using like, I forget what level of subnet it's looking at. But I wonder if this
I
is
can't remember exactly, but yeah, there was for a bit. Kind of got turned on by accident, and then it was realised that that kind of level of change shouldn't be activated unless it's voted on. So it was turned
because
off. So
these all have extremely narrow subnets. Everything is on 2 subnets.
Travis is asking, are you getting OOM errors? You guys are going to have to fix my ignorance there. What's the answer?
Out of memory.
Yeah.
Okay.
What were they again? They were Bobcats?
I think he said they're all Bobcats. Yeah. Let's see.
I should be able to dig that up somewhere, but I don't have it offhand. I also love that you're blanketing this entire city in Ukraine with 21 hotspots. That's like I love that. I love those stories. This is.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if you look at this, map, I mean, every hotspot in this city belongs to Mark.
Yeah, he's saying, look at the Explorer. What else did Mr. Strong say? Helium confirmed that the hexes are EU868, so that's not the issue.
It's not about whether or not Helium says what the region is. There's a LoRa standard for what region is what. So it's really important that there's a defined region. Otherwise, a region can't be selected after POP_v11, because POP_v11 changes all of the transmit power and everything. So it's not just look at a file and pick a region. It has to have a region defined for that area. So it's very, very possible that it's been hit by this bug. I've seen it in a few places when they're on the border of a region that they might be 868, but there's no official documentation. So there's no defined region.
Okay, I have an idea. So it looks on December 13th, they activated POCV11, which is 1-for-1 when Mark's earnings vanished. So I couldn't tell you why based on what I'm seeing here, but that seems pretty 1-for-1. And then the fact that they're in Ukraine, I don't know what that means. Maybe it is some kind of like a frequency mismatch or a bug. It could just be a bug, honestly.
There's a few of them at the moment on Discord talking about the same sort of issues. They're in disputed areas, and they might have been using 915 or 868, and where there's no defined region, they're now using nothing.
Right.
Character. Right. Keenan, welcome, dude. Good to see you on here.
Hey.
Well,
yeah, welcome.
Hop in for a short amount of time here. I've got an appointment in about 10 minutes, but yeah, I thought I'd just chime in, see how everyone's doing. Giving out some good info here, guys.
Oh, check this out. Ukraine is listed as unknown.
That'll be why then. There you go. Boom.
You should
Fascinating.
Move to San Diego. We need more people like you.
It's about the LoRa Foundation having documentation that supports that there's a region there. If there's not documentation supporting it, one can't just be decided. The foundation will need to decide these things. So it's really important that official documentation is sourced and these issues can be cleared up. There's a community member, I can't remember his name, that does all of this for Helium. He sets the regions in the map and makes sure that they're following all the guidelines. It might be worth bringing it up on Discord. Hit me up on Discord if you're the owner, and I'll link you to the right person.
Yeah, this definitely seems regulatory times 𝗵𝐶V11 related. 21 hotspots all on the same day. It's brutal.
I'm coming to like 10 minutes left. I know everybody's got to do other stuff as well. I got kind of non-related hotspot question, but what determines from 𝗺𝗍𝗶𝘀, George Power, however you want to say it? I guess you have a specific way you want to say that, but I'm going to say it, 𝗺𝗍. What determines average 7-day beacon interval? I see hotspots with fewer witnesses producing more beacons per 7-day. Neil, I see you nodding. You probably have an answer.
Yeah, I can answer. I mean, you do it, Jamie. I do it all the time.
No, please.
It's just there's a random interval in between. You've also got to remember that I think it's about 40% of pop fails now as well. So you can go periods of time with no beacons. It's just really important that you look at it over a very long period of time to see the beacon count. If you do it on a very short time, then it's just not gonna look right. It's these longer time.
Yeah. And the other thing I'll mention, like the POC interval is like 300 blocks or something right now, but to your point, there's a random interval, and then I forget what the rules are, but it is also possible for the beacons to just get dropped entirely by the consensus group for like so many different reasons, in which case they won't even show up as a failure or as a success. So and then the relaying is the #1 reason for that. I've always found, like the IP filters and a few other things too, but really it's like relay is so bad.
Fix your relay, yeah. Let's see, Joey. Thanks for coming on, dude. Anything to add in here now that you're on the inside?
No, you guys are nailing it. I keep cross-comparing everything to the Mappers project, but so far we haven't been in mapped areas. But it's I'm looking for an opportunity to.
Oh, that's great. I love that we all have our own slice of the pie that we're using to try to demystify.
Let's finish up with this one. So how often should you reboot a miner, specifically ones that don't have a warm reboot? Everyone's shaking their head. Like, don't reboot it for no reason.
Yeah, never.
It's basically the only tool that you have is to reboot, and it's the last resort tool, right? There's no other buttons to push on almost all of them. There's nothing else to do. Most of the time, the answer is to get it off relay, get it on an Ethernet connection, get your antenna up high, make sure your connections are solid, and wait. That's the deal. And unfortunately, it's not like you can do much else. You can't, kickstart this thing into speeding up. Look at that, Jamie. You got some Santa Claus shit going on.
Call, right?
Yeah. I like it. There's not much else you do. Let's see. How to avoid relay. Go to heliumstatus.io and let that thing walk you through it, or go to the Jason's thing. I'll probably drop a link in the chat in a second. But let's see. Let's do kind of one last show off for folks who came in late. Neil, do you want to just share a screen and go super quickly through heliumstatus.io for what people to look for? And then after, we'll finish up with you, Jamie, and ETL. And then
sure. I want to get a Joey Mappers demo if he'll do it too.
Oh, yeah. Fuck yeah.
Thanks.
Joey, I'll put you after Neil then, if that's cool. Neil, you ready?
All right, I'll set this.
So Helium State is just a really easy site that uses a miner in the cloud. This miner doesn't earn, but it just runs on a Amazon Web Service, a serverless config. So we could just ask it via JSON RPC to give information about miners directly. So it will talk to a miner, and then that miner will talk to your miner and ask for its information. It's what's known as a miner peer book. So this information is returned live from your hotspot. The problem with Explorer and the app is that it can take hours for it to get information through. So often you might see that you're offline on the app or Explorer, but the reality is that you might not be. So for years, for almost a year, I've been doing this manually. And you know this, Nick, I've talked to you all the time. about how to have this service list and show you all of this information. So eventually, with the help of Rob, who's in the chat, we pulled the site together. The most basic info is it's a live check. So you can live check if you're relayed, which is a really important thing. But you can also see things like peers, which can make a huge difference. I'll go through those in a second. But one of the main things is this observed listen address is your live address. So if this looks like a peer-to-peer address, it will say peer-to-peer. That means you're relayed. That will show here as well. But the other one to check is this is what the API thinks you're on. So if these two addresses don't match, I've noticed it can mean that you're waiting for the gossip to update. So you might see a period of lower earnings until those addresses match. That's got a lot better in recent times. In the last month, it's got a lot better. It used to take about a week or two for this information to update on the API, but since they found some of these gossip bugs, it generally is a day or two at max that it takes. So this information is all available on one page. Another great thing is this service connects a miner from the cloud to your hotspot. So if you've had some trouble syncing, you will have a really good known peer. So when you run this report, it connects a miner to yours, so you can gossip the chain and actually sync up a little faster because it's on a gigabit connection in the data center. And the final thing I'll say is the peer list. So we break down who you're connected to the internet to gossip blocks. So if this number's low, it can often mean a sign of problems, or if you're only connected to seed nodes, that could be a sign of problems. Or if you click through and that you notice that some of your peers are down, that could be a problem as well. So these can all lead to lower sync times and issues. So here you go. There's an example of a relay address. But I know this hotspot's up still though, because you can click these addresses and it will show you if they ping or not. So it's just a way of looking at your hotspot live on the network.
If you guys want to check that out, heliumstatus.io. Don't miss it.
Yeah, actually,
Joey,
since you're a pro, what's like a typical latency via relay?
About what they're 150 to 200. I mean, the problem is as well is this server is Amazon in Ireland. So if you're in the States, you could probably take 100 milliseconds off of it. We don't do regional pings or anything.
Yeah, I've found huge value in this tool. I run a Cloud Miner instance just for the sake a lot of times of seeing how hotspots are doing. But sometimes that hotspot's not in my peer book. So then I go over to Helium status and I can ping it from across the world and just like get two different references on how a hotspot might be doing.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, a lot of us have been doing this because we've known it from the DIY days or the early days of Helium. So whenever anyone's asked for help, I've done this manually for almost a year. So having a tool to do it is just helpful. I mean, obviously, when we get to like gateways, this isn't as important, but there's other things that we're going to be doing down the line to make it more interesting. But right now, this is so valuable to get live information.
Yeah, you should be charging for this, Neil. You should be charging a lot more.
The monitoring is you can sign up and have live monitors. It checks your hotspots every hour. There's some cooler features coming, like we're doing webhooks soon, where you can tie in a remote plug. So if you fail a ping 5 times, reboot the hotspot or reboot the whole system.
That's what I think you should.
Yeah.
All right, Joey, what do you got for mappers? Walk me through it, dog.
Yeah, I'll take the screen share here.
Yeah.
And we will do.
Thank you, Neil. That was awesome. Enhance.
All right, we looking at mappers?
Yeah.
Awesome. So for those that don't know, this is a little mapper device. And what we're doing with these is they've got GPS on board and they send out a LoRa signal that's got GPS encoded in it. And then what we can do with that is when you're out in the world sort of wandering around, this thing's sending out signals, we can receive it on the mapper's endpoint on the map. And so you're basically getting a sense of like, how is this hotspot performing out in the real world? And so I've just kind of zoomed in on an area over here that was updated fairly recently. And so what this is showing me is that I was right here, well, it wasn't me, but was right here with one of these mapping devices, and it was sending out signals and getting received by hotspots over in these larger hexes. And so this is super valuable because you can start to get an understanding of, is my hotspot receiving packets? How far away is it receiving packets? So this one here, it's 2 miles away. And it's providing coverage sort of through this whole valley. So it tends to be a really great, it's a totally different angle on debugging.
Yeah.
And gives you like a different sense for how your hotspot is, creating the network. One other little note that I'll sort of add here is that you can turn on it. So if you're riding around and your hotspot's not showing up, it may be due to that your hotspot's just not responding first. So what we support is turning on multiple packet purchasing so that any hotspot that hears that packet gets credit for reporting it, not just the first one, because the first one isn't necessarily the closest one. And then those all get listed out here. And so these are ordered from newest at the top to oldest at the bottom. So likely if your hotspot is working well and it's receiving those packets, they'll be showing up towards the top of this list.
Dig it. I'm not seeing your screen load, Joey. I'm not sure if that's me or you.
Probably me.
Where can you buy them? Where can you find out more information?
So glad you asked. There is a Mappers channel on the Helium Discord with a very active community in there, very helpful folks. You can get started with a mapper for, I'll say, $40 conservatively. Probably do it a little less if you squeeze some things together. And there's a breakdown in the Helium docs. There's a link in the Discord channel. And we try to detail all of the sort of known platforms that are good for mapping. So if there's anything from like fully configured, like ready to go straight out of the box, to I'm going to solder something to a board.
Like this.
Somewhere.
Old hell tech.
What?
Yeah.
On the market, like there's a glamour if you've got the big bucks like the Apple experience, or there's a 𝗙𝗵𝐸 T-beams. These are cheap on Amazon, and then there's some nice advanced ones like DIS91's field test device, which is one of my favorites. So,
Keenan, you got one too.
Oh, this is just a little hell tech. I haven't actually put it together yet. There's no battery or anything, but yeah, I got a few mappers. There are a couple in the car. Actually, Joey, do you want to reference cargo at all, or are we not kind of touching base on that?
Oh yeah, cargo is another really good real time. I won't pull it up right now because screen sharing is an awkward experience for me right now. But yeah, and so you'll get to see that if you jump into that Mappers channel. A lot of folks will point you to cargo as another means to understand how that mapper device is working while you're out in the field.
Dig it.
All open source contributions. Not only encouraged or like strongly encouraged. There's a bunch of open issues. There's a lot of really cool features, namely one that would be really helpful in this debugging story would be the ability to see all of the hexes mapped for one hotspot. Really want that feature.
Yeah, love it. And DY's got some grants for that. So there's a little bit of money that can get thrown in that if you do a good job writing up a request. Which brings us to Jamie, my closer. Tell me about DY ETL stuff. I know because we went through it with Neil, we did the mappers with Joey, and I just want to make sure people who came in at the end knew that this ETL thing exists and that they can access it, at least some part of it.
Yeah, it exists. DY ETL, etl.dy.org, powered by the blockchain ETL and Metabase, and the blood, sweat, and tears of the data analysis channel, and 𝗪𝗿𝗄 and Daniel from Hotspot and many others. And so, my screen share up anymore, but you can just sign in with a Gmail account and start poking around. And there's lots of fun dashboards. Hotspot details and account details are the ones I was showing off the most earlier. But there's also one called Challenge Receipts Dashboard that 𝗪𝗿𝗄 put together that powers a lot of the Helium hiker reports. It just gives you like very detailed breakdowns of sort of like which hotspots are you communicating with or not communicating with, and all the data is there. Check it out. Brought to you by your local decentralized wireless alliance.
Love it. Love it. All right, guys, I see a ton of stuff in the chat.
And subscribe and smash the like button for Nick. Don't forget about smashing the like button.
I've been trying not to say that. I just want to see like, hey, if people are going to do it, I'll just let them do it. If they don't want to do it, don't do it.
Just,
but
maybe sometimes people like to donate money to things. They just need to be reminded a little bit.
Yeah, I Appreciate that.
Yeah, over in the chat window, there's a little $sign. And you get your credit card.
Smash the dollar sign.
Is that how it works? Okay. I'm seeing a ton of questions in the chat we didn't get to about tuned antennas and grounding and all kinds of am I relayed or the rest of it. I'm going to set up a page on the Gristle King site, so gristleking.com, to submit questions for future kind of AUAs, Ask Us Anything, and I'll get these guys and more on here so that we can record these sessions so that you can watch them, and even if you miss it, you can check it out later. I know there's a ton of questions about helium. That's kind of why we're all here, to help you guys out. Super excited and grateful that all of you guys listened in, and all the guys that came that signed in kind of came in and shared their expertise freely. It is super, super cool, and I really appreciate it. Thank you all for coming on.
Love it.
I've been enjoying it.
So fun. So fun.
Rock and roll. All
I learned
think I'm
so
gonna end
much.
this stream. I think I do that first.
Stream over.
There we go. Your stream will
Can
start
we
immediately. All right.
Hang out for a minute, let it upload, right?
That's right.